Hey guys, this is Lion of Judah with the Guild 7 from Thunderhorn server. So glad to be with you yet again on another video, and right now I'm going to be discussing with a very good co-host of mine. He's a fellow hunter of mine, FG Clutch from, what server are you from now?
It's actually Lunchy, and it's
Oh, it's
Dragon Mail.
Lunchy.
Yep,
Yeah.
it's a Lunchy.
Awesome. So Lunchy, the nickname stuck. Awesome.
Yeah.
But we're going to be discussing right now. Is it okay? Everyone's asking this question. BM is the best spec of the hunter class. It's going to yield the best DPS. Would you agree with that statement?
Does it have potential to be the best DPS? Yes, it does. Will it in every case? No, not even close. Will it?
Yeah. You see, everyone of course looks at, no one looks at Noxic, but of course Simcraft is the website that I'm looking at right now, and
Yeah.
I'm looking at it at a 680 eye level, and you see Hunter BM, second best spec right now, pulling about 40Ks, 40,672. Now, and Marksman's underneath that, and Survival is almost two specs underneath that at 38,900. Now, everyone before 6.1 was Survival, and now everyone wants to jump the gun and go to BM. Do you think that is something that people should be doing? Like, does it depend on the eye level? Like, is that even something they should be doing?
For BM, what they have to know is if you have to have your force set, and you have to have your gear. Everything you had for survival is completely obsolete. I think there's like very few pieces that will actually transfer over into your BM just because they spec completely different.
Well, it's
And
because you have the multi-strike with
yeah,
versatility that you were gunning for survival, and then with BM you have
it's
mastery
haste.
and haste, right?
Yeah,
Or haste
yeah,
mastery. It's
yeah,
it's both of those.
yeah. And I mean, so change all of your gear though. And I mean, if you're a mythic raider or a heroic raider, you know how hard that's going to be to have to completely change all of your items and have to go through that whole phase again. But I mean, it can be done. I'm not saying it can't be done. I've seen some decent BMs, but I've seen some BMs too that went straight from survival, jumped the gun, as you said, and are doing absolutely piss poor damage, and they will for a while, because then by the time they get all that gear, that gain or gear
Getting rid of the
changed,
multi-strike
yeah,
to the haste and
it's
mastery. Yeah.
gonna go back to survival then, I bet, after that. Again. Probably this
Mhm.
next coming up, who knows? And if that happens again, they're all gonna be, mad about that whole ordeal, so.
You see, I tried out BM because I hadn't played BM this whole expansion. I played it in the beta, and the one thing I never liked about BM is kill command. Kill command is the breaker for me because I hate it when my pet is just right next to me, not attacking, not doing anything. I'm like, what are you doing? Go to the boss and attack. And I'm hitting kill command because that is your number one priority move. And you're hitting kill command and the pet's running and running and running. And
Yeah.
it's just like by the time it gets there, you've already lost seconds of DPS, which is DPS, it's damage per second. You're losing out in DPS. I've had that happen a number of times, and a lot of people tell me, oh, we'll just macro your arcane shot with pet attack, and I'm like, yeah, but come on, like, your pet should be, like, a little bit smarter, and it was back in the day. Now, I don't know, it's really kind of wonky, and I hope Blizzard fixes it. But let me ask you a question. So let's say a person at entry level, eye level, right? Let's say 630, right? Like, let's say a person is a hunter, and let's say he was playing survival because that was the last niche thing to do. So he's survival right now at 630 eye level. Would you recommend that person to go to BM or to play BM?
I guess it would kind of vary on the person. I would say if they know BM and they're comfortable with it and they really like BM, I'd say yes, go right ahead. I mean, you're only heroic dungeon geared. You can easily get all the high maul gear and Black Ark Founder gear and all of your stuff by the time you're raiding. But I mean, if you don't know BM though, I still wouldn't do it. But then the catch-22 is you aren't going to have your force set from BRF, and so you're going to be way underperforming compared to what
Which
survival
makes
will be
BM
at that
the
age.
best spec at that point,
Yes.
right? That's a
Yes.
lot of people don't know that. They think that it's just, oh, I switched to BM, I do better DPS.
No,
That's
not
not
even
the
close.
case. You have to have I'm going to repeat this. You have to have your 4 set from Blackrock Foundry.
Plus all the
Without that,
gear.
plus all the gear, of course, I think there's some trinkets that really help you out as far as the BM class. But for the most part, you know, when people go to SimCraft and they see these numbers and they see, oh, and what do you think of this statement? Survival is the worst spec of the
Oh,
hunter. When
I
people say that,
absolutely hate that. Just because
I
you
do
know what?
too.
You know what? When you look at marksman and how the generator comes up with all of that, they're hitting that marksman every single the rotation perfectly every time. And
Mhm.
if any of you have ever played marksman, do you know how difficult you will
Oh yeah.
never, I don't care who you are, you will never get that perfect rotation each and every time. You're always going to get, one of your shots interrupted or not cast off fully or,
Mhm.
something like that's going to go awry. But with survival, the rotation is simple. It's easy. I
It's
mean,
elegant. Yeah,
it is. It just flows very well. And
it
that's why I
flows.
love playing survival.
I mean,
And
it does great AoE. I mean, for me, I've always loved survival because it offered the ability, especially now, like with lock and load, you know, being
Mhm.
able to especially with focusing shot, because focus shot you have to stay there, and sometimes like to be able to like do attacks back to back like lock and load does. No
Yeah.
other, you know, you can't really do that on marksman. You can't really do that on BM unless you have throw of the hunt. You can do some arcane shots, but having free non-focus driven shots, that is one of your best abilities. You know, explosive shot is amazing. I've always loved a survival, but I hate it, absolutely hate it when, oh, survival is like the worst spec of the game right now for
Oh,
hunters.
God.
And it's like, okay, then let's not take, let me see, what's beneath survival? There should be absolutely no frost mages, no warriors whatsoever. Get rogues out of your raid, get shamans, get death knights, get paladins, get all, because you're saying survival is the worst spec. And honestly, like, even if you really look at it, its BM is 40,672. Marksman is 40,052. 600 less DPS. And then survival is 38.9. And that is if you have all the best gear. This is assuming, when you're looking at SimCraft, it's assuming you have your 4 set, all the appropriate trinkets. And it's like when people see BM hunters, usually the people that switch to BM were the smart ones because they already have their 4 set, have their trinkets, so they see them performing really well, and they think, oh, I need to go and do BM, but you don't have the trinkets, you don't have the 4 set. Stick with survival. I personally think survival is way better than marksman in the sense of the longevity, and even in the sense of playstyle. I mean, I'm not trying to diss marksman. Some people really love marksman, and kudos to you. I can't stand marksman right now. With the mastery they have, with, you know, just, I'm not saying their rotation feels clunky because everyone likes to use that word, but it's just not it's not a fit for me. I don't enjoy playing it. I tried it and I was like, oh, this mastery could be pretty cool, but really as I started raiding with it, it got very annoying because it's like I move a lot as a hunter because I can, and it feels like when I play marksman, I'm limited in my movement because of my mastery, and it really annoys me. So survival is a very, everyone says a beginner spec, which it is. I would consider a beginner spec, but it performs very, very, very well. I have been in, I have a 673 eye level, and I have been with raids with like other people that have their 2 sets on with BM, and I still outperform them in survival without no 2 set for survival. I have no tier bonuses whatsoever. And I can still outperform them because I know my rotation. I know how good I am with survival. And some people are like switching to BM and they're just doing it on the fly. They're like, oh, I went to Icy Veins, I read it, I kind of know what I'm doing, but, you know, blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of nuances with BM, especially with Focus Fire. If you don't know how to properly use Focus Fire, you're screwed in all your DPS. You can just throw all those DPS right down the window because it's not just hitting it whenever it gets 5 procs. You have to use it with a type of liberal like sense that is very detrimental to your DPS, your single target, and especially your AoE. If you're using Focus Fire wrong, your AoE is shit. It is not going to be what those numbers on SimCraft tell you. But I guess sort of closing up this argument, do you have anything else to say as far as like the whole survival being the worst spec or anything?
No, I mean, I know survival, with our whole focusing shot, we're kind of, gimped a little bit on mobility, but it's still, in my opinion, one of the most mobile. I know it's not as mobile as BM, but it's still more mobile than Marksman, and on all of these fights, when you get up to top tier level, there's so much movement that look at Black Hand, look at Hans and Franz, most of these fights, you cannot stand still. You get maybe 3 seconds of,
and you
where
have
you
your
can stop.
4-set, correct?
Yes, I do.
And you're playing survival right now, right?
Yes, I have my full set. I play survival, and I was.
How's it working out for you?
Amazing. I was out. I just did a raid probably about an hour or two ago, and I was playing up against a BM hunter who had his 4th set and had half of his gear. He didn't have the weapon or the trinks though, and he was 5 item levels above me, 5 or 6, and I blew him out of the water by like almost 5K. It was unbelievable, and it was on maidens too, and we both stayed on bottom, so it was a nice little clee fight for him. And he could not outperform me.
And that's because you read, on like different hunter sites that BM has the best AOE in the game. You know what I mean? But if you don't know how to properly use focus fire, your AOE is completely crap. I'm telling you. And a lot of people just think I'm gonna play the spec because I think I know what I'm doing. But if you haven't played it in a while, I mean, even for me, like I had to kind of get back in the program with BM because it really all depends on your focus fire. But kind of closing up this whole argument real quick and just wrapping this up. So, in the long run, would you say that it is just the new hotness to go to BM, or do you think, because I personally think survival is still very, very, very viable. I honestly think these numbers are not skewed. I'm pretty sure these numbers are correct, but this is also assuming you have every single piece of gear. And when do you ever, especially in sort of the beginning of the expansion, ever have, unless you're in the very top tier, upper echelon of rating, have every single piece of gear?
I mean, I don't think you need every gear, but yeah, for the most part, you need, full, every piece. And BM may be outperforming survival, but once again, look at how much easier it is to perfect survival than it is BM.
Compared to BM, exactly.
I don't care who it's almost impossible to perfect that during like mythic fights compared to survival. It's just not gonna happen.
The level of error is completely skewed compared to survival to BM, of course. Is there anything else that you wanted to add? Anything that I may have missed that you maybe just want to say to the viewers that are watching this video? May be curious of that, oh man, maybe I should go back to survival, or maybe just back to their original spec.
I would recommend you go to if you have all survival gear, I would recommend staying survival. I think survival will always be top. I mean, if you look at all of the patches and everything, survival has always been upper tier, especially with their movement. They're always going to do great DPS. BM will always shift from top to bottom, same with Marksman. So I just stick with survival. I think it'll always do well no matter what. So,
one thing I just want to add is a lot of people see the burst. Of course, Marksman really isn't a bursty class. It's more of a sustained, and I've always loved how sustained survival is. BM is a very bursty, so you see these big numbers, you put out your stampede, and you're like, oh my god, this is so much better than survival. But in the long term, in a 7-minute fight, 8-minute fight, 9-minute fight, whatever, survival will beat you. You may beat me in the original 1 minute, but it's always on how but let's see how you finish the fight. That's the kicker right there. I bet you anything that I will beat you in overall damage and probably even in DPS.
Yep.
But thank you so much, Lunchy, for coming and talking to me with this video, because I really wanted to get this video out there so people can know, hey, BM isn't exactly the best thing, like everyone says it is, but I really wanted a very geared, a very good hunter like yourself to kind of just tell your opinion to my viewers, let them know, like, hey, if you're playing survival, just stick with it, you'll be fine, But again, thank you so much, Lunchy, for coming on this video.
Yeah.
Awesome. So if you like this video, guys, please like, subscribe to my channel. My name is Lion of Judah from Thunderhorn from the Guild 7. Until next time, I will see you guys later.